Hi everyone, my name's Enoch Miller, your Empress West Hollywood. We are joined here today with Glendale Out, with Josh Cohen and Gray James, going to be talking about all the amazing things they are working to provide for queer amazing things to go with Glendale. So let's get to know more about what's happening here in the Glendale community from our gentlemen. So hi guys, how are you today?
How are you? Thank you so much.
We're doing good. It is a beautiful day today. We're so happy you both could join us and kind of explain to the community what you guys are looking to do and really kind of help provide this new resource for your neighborhood. So let's get right into it. What specifically is Glendale Out?
Well, you used the word neighborhood. That's a really good choice of words because typically, especially in the LA area, if you want to be gay, you go to West Hollywood or you go to Silver Lake. And as I have put it several times before, you export your queer. Like that's sort of
Yeah.
the model that we've all been operating on for years and years and years. And I think that the future is that all of these little neighborhoods that have been exporting are now going to stay home. Glendale Out is a grassroots community effort to do that and to bring queer into Glendale.
Which is really great because obviously, I mean, they're starting to see more and more of these come up and more of these come to light. I mean, places like Silver Lake and West Hollywood, Santa Monica, downtown LA even have started budding more and more with kind of these central locations. But you're starting to see places like North Hollywood and places out in San Bernardino and some places up in the valley really starting to expand and create their own little niches for their queer community. And give us just a little bit, Gray, about the history of Glendale Out. Like, how long has it been around? What's kind of been the overall mission of putting this together, and kind of what you guys have kind of give us just a little bit more of those details of kind of how it all started.
We sort of, I've lived in Glendale over 20 years, and I'm from New York City. So to go from New York City to the environment of Glendale has
That's a
been
shift.
that's a shift. That's a mildly putting it nicely is it's a shift.
Right.
Um, I would soon discover that Glendale is an oddly conservative enclave within the Los Angeles region.
Interesting.
So yeah, so not all of LA is, embracing of their queer community, and Glendale was a little bit challenging. And there was no formed queer community. There's a lot of people who live here. There's an established community that is here, but they keep to themselves. It's mostly the older ones that I'm aware of, and it just wasn't happening. And then we sort of tried to dabble in it a little bit, like dabble in queer, and get it going. And there were some missteps and misfirings, and it didn't
Okay.
quite go very smoothly. We started doing like art shows and things like that. And through the art shows, we met Alicia from Glendale Unified School District, and that's
Okay.
when we started working with the school district. That changed everything
Oh wow.
because if you want anything to succeed in Glendale, go through the school district. That's responding to the town you live in. And then things got better from there. It started moving more forward from there and got better.
Well, and I think you kind of hit on some of the aspects of it, but for the queer community in Glendale, with it being more of this type of conservative neighborhood, what are some of the challenges that are faced with the queer community out there?
Partly that the older established neighborhood doesn't want to get involved
Okay.
in a broader sense. There are some geopolitical issues where there are other communities that live within Glendale that are themselves very conservative and church-based or religious or for whatever reasons.
Okay.
So there's that, and then it's that it just has never been here before. So we get a lot of responses, which circles around when anything is posted in the news, like if there's a pride event being planned or if there's something happening, and you go into the comments are, well, why don't they just go to LA? Why do they have to do that here?
Got it. Which is so funny. They say, why not just go to LA? Because, I mean, we're all part of LA County.
I know.
So we're kind of already here together.
Yeah.
But I can see the frustration of really just not having the support and not having just the kind of the backing you want from basically the neighborhood and really
Right.
people getting on board with a group of people that just want to express themselves and express their, lack of a better term, express their pride and what they're happy about for their community.
You're absolutely right. And Glendale is just very gay 101. Like maybe in 5 years we'll be sophomores if we're lucky, kind of thing. But to your point, and you bring a great point up, and I'm grateful for it, is that we are starting to find out the people who do support us. And
Awesome.
we're starting to make those relationships, and that's starting to coalesce a little bit. And we're very fortunate that those people are standing up.
Well, it's really great that I mean, you're having those individuals come together. The fact that you have gotten into places like the school district. I mean, you hear this so many times with individuals: go to where the kids are because they are the future. They are the ones that will that and show them what and who we are. And it's not just some bunch of crazy gays and weird butch lesbians. There's such a variety and a diversity and a uniqueness to every aspect of queer. And we're going to look at some of the different things you guys have coming up here for this year and for next year in 2022. We're going to talk a little bit with Josh about that. But great, thank you for kind of giving us more about kind of the community that you're so happy to be a part of and your proud neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Showing us with that. So we're going to let Gray go, but you guys stay here tuned for some more as we go in with Josh. Okay, so we are here then with Josh Cohen. We're going to talk more about the aspects of what GlendaleOUT is going to be working toward here for the next year into 2022 with some stuff. So, Josh, GlendaleOUT is going to be putting together its first local zine. For anyone who doesn't know what a queer art zine is, kind of give us a little bit of an explanation of kind of what a zine is and what inspired the idea for a local zine here in the GlendaleOUT aspect.
Sure. So yeah, a zine is essentially a DIY magazine.
Okay.
So it's a DIY kind of do-it-yourself kind of publication that's usually used for the dissemination or the communication of information between communities and people who want to kind of show their own artistic voice. Okay. And it was an idea that I kind of came up with that I brought to GlendaleOUT. And something that I've always really enjoyed seeing different publications for different communities, especially within the LGBTQIA plus community.
Right.
You know, zines and magazines have kind of been there throughout our history as something that has kind of both captured the moment and also propelled us kind of forward to the next moment.
Got it. And for people that may not understand still kind of what we're talking about, would you kind of almost equate this to being some sort of like queer community guide and kind of like the 411 about gay in Glendale? I
guess you could say that. It really is a kind of an artistic timestamp of the moment, right? So whether the artists who are involved in the zine have that in mind or not, I think relatively at the end of the day, it really is kind of a snapshot, right? So it is a 101 in a sense of who's here, what they're doing, what they're working on, what they're thinking about, and how they're kind of putting that together thoughtfully for the moment.
Got it. So more specifically, it's probably like an art time capsule in a sense.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely a capsule of a creative moment, something that allows people to really just speak about their own artistic practice, even if it's not essentially steeped within the LGBTQIA perspective. If it's, you know, most artists who identify within that umbrella, I think would be confident to say that those themes are in their work already, right?
Which is really cool. Yeah. And kind of what inspired this was it something you had done before in the past with other like different types of publications, or were you just wanting to find something unique and different that hadn't really been done before?
So it's kind of a blueprint that I'm kind of putting into the Glendale, world. I'm a photographer and designer, so I have done some publication stuff in the past, and that's kind of the world that I'm most interested in. I read a lot of different magazines and art zines and art kind of catalogs, and I thought this could be something fun to do for this area to both highlight and embolden the community here. So yeah, so that was kind of the inspiration behind that.
It's really cool. And if anyone is ever like interested in trying to be a part of this and add their work to this piece, how would they go about getting that something submitted?
Yeah, so we have a Google submission form that will be linked to this video that anyone who's interested can, with an idea or a body of work, can submit. And we say idea or body of work because even if you don't have something done yet, but you have an idea for it and you want to do it specifically for our collective zine, then let us know. put it in the submission form, and we'll be in contact with you soon.
It's really cool that, I mean, again, it's giving community expression and aspects for people to see what someone's view of this community looks like. It's really cool. What impacts do you believe this could have for the queer community here in Glendale?
So I think that it can really embolden the sense of community communication, right? Like being able to know that your community is here, because like Gray was saying, sometimes it's hard to realize that you have queer people in your own neighborhood, because there really isn't platforms for us to find each other. I mean, obviously there's much more nowadays, but this kind of helps that creative platform and helps people find each other and form a sense of community.
Which, I mean, it is so important to kind of know who's around you, and really so that way you can, again, connect and communicate.
Right.
With everything going on, we've been dealing with the coronavirus for over a year now, and all the stuff that's kind of really impacted that, and really kind of made a lot of these things a little bit more difficult with having to get creative. You can't necessarily have the Pride events that you used to have. You can't have these gatherings anymore and put on like an actual art show and have something physically tangible that that people can go see, instead of having it, like, again, picked up in a magazine. So with everything going on with coronavirus, how do you still hope to engage the community and the surrounding area?
Well, that's definitely been a part of one of the reasons why we want to do the zine.
Okay.
Is to keep that communication going, keep that platform going, so that people do know that we're here.
Got it.
And so that's really the main goal. And you know, everyone's safety and health is our number one priority. So as long as we can still communicate apart, we will do that, and allow people the space to bring up ideas for future events, either in person or virtual.
Okay.
And give people a place to just kind of get to know other people, and which is something that's hard to do during a pandemic.
Exactly. And so with that in mind, kind of what are some of your guys' plans for the future? You've obviously wanted to do a Pride event before it kind of fell through due to COVID. Is there talks or plans in motion going forward for what this year, the rest of this year after the zine, and then obviously into next year, planning for anything for glendaleOUT?
Well, Pride is a big one for us because it was something that got pushed back because of COVID. Right. So I guarantee you, whenever Pride can happen in person, it's going to be great. It's gonna be insane. But until then, it's really kind of seeing what we could do with what we have, right? So we do have some plans in mind for this June to celebrate Pride Month in the way that we can.
Okay.
And then we hopefully will have some events that people can look forward to in the fall. And we hope that by then there'll be a chance to maybe come together in some capacity, whatever is the safest way, and kind of celebrate our local queer community together.
Oh, no, it sounds really, I mean, again, I think everyone's concern right now is safety, is making sure that still giving them a chance to experience and explore what you guys have to offer, while, again, maintaining that public health safety. It's a tough tightrope to balance, and I'm sure everyone is doing their best to do that. For anyone who's thinking this and wanting to know, like, again, Gray kind of mentioned it, that everyone kind of assumes the stereotypical places to go and just experience queer is West Hollywood, downtown, Silver Lake, Santa Monica, things like that. Why is it important, do you feel, to really highlight these local queer aspects in places like the Glendale area, other places that are these smaller town type, it's not small town, but like smaller town compared to some of these bigger areas? Why do you guys feel that it's so important to highlight these?
Well, I always think of the phrase, think global, act local, right? In the sense of, because you have to, right? If anyone's familiar with any kind of queer history or LGBTQIA history, the bigger cities became these like beacons, right? These kind of lighthouses for queerness and for openness, liberalness, acceptedness. And we're seeing now with a lot of widespread acceptance, not 100%, but it's getting a lot better,
Yeah.
that it's natural for that to kind of spread out throughout the rest of the country, the rest of our cities, the rest of our neighborhoods, right? It has to, because we want to create a world in which every corner of every neighborhood is safe for any LGBTQIA person. And we won't stop until that has been normalized.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to, honor the cities that did it first, honor the San Franciscos, honor the New Yorks, honor those places, but bring that home, and make sure that wherever you are based, that there is a space for you to feel safe, to be able to find community, and to communicate with other like-minded people.
Exactly. And I think that's just really what it is giving yourself an opportunity to have a place where, I mean, everyone that lives in the Glendale community loves and appreciates that community because they wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And to give a sense of pride, and not just pride as in queer pride, but also pride in your space and where you live, and feel like you have representation, obviously, is very important. Before we go today, is there anyone that like is watching today that you feel needs to like hear anything, or if there's like something specifically you want to just have them, if they're not submitting to the zine and not like doing anything artistically, but want to know more and want to like experience more, what would be one thing you could tell them to really understand what GlendaleOUT is really about?
Well, I would say keep your ears and eyes open for new stuff that's going to be coming out, new exciting things that we're kind of in that are in the works right now, and make sure you're following us on Instagram and Facebook. I mean, that's really where our information is, where we share local information of local queer-owned businesses, and also what we're doing in terms of social activism and giving back to the community. So that's all going to be there, and yeah, we'd love to have you.
And where can people, what are those handles so people can go and find them?
So it's the handle for Instagram is glendaleOUT, and same with Facebook. So if you type GlendaleOUT either as one phrase or 2 words, it should pop up, and you should be able to find it pretty quickly. Our icon is a rainbow gem, to honor the Jewel City, which is what Glendale was, which I didn't really know that until like a year or 2 ago. So to honor the Jewel City, we have a rainbow jewel.
Oh, again, this is just so much fun to see different aspects of queer community popping up again in a place that you would think has so much of it here, like Los Angeles. There's so many different ways people do and learn how to express this, and I cannot wait to see what you guys have for the future. You guys go check them out at GlendaleOUT and follow them for more information on everything they have coming up for this year and potentially for next year too. So you don't want to miss that. Thank you, Josh, for being with us today. Thank you as well to Gray James for all the great information he gave us about the history of Glendale and kind of some of the things that really everyone has to struggle and fight through to really be heard and feel like they're represented in a community. So you guys stay tuned more here. Follow GlendaleOUT on this page and stay with more information. If you're looking to sign up for the zine, the link will be in the description of the post. So go check that out and show us what you're made of. We can't wait to see what you have. So you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Bye.